Welcome back. All right, I admit I use the Divvy rental e-scooters here in the city almost every single day, but a local emergency room says there are hidden dangers and a skyrocketing amount of visits to the emergency room due to scooter accidents. Joining us now is Karen Battaglia, the trauma program coordinator at Northwestern Medicine McHenry Hospital. Karen Battaglia, thanks for speaking with us. So tell us the scope and the increase in accidents and emergency room visits you're seeing.
So we have seen a sharp rise in injuries related to e-bikes and e-scooters over the last year. When I compare last spring, like May through August, to this year, May through August, they've gone up 325%. That's visits to the ED. That's not everybody who's admitted. And what started out as a fun and convenient way to just go out and enjoy the outdoors is now bringing more people into our trauma centers. These devices reach up to 20 to 28 miles an hour, and that's really fast when you're thinking that we've got little kids, 8, 9-year-old kids out on these devices.
What's the most common injury that you're seeing on scooters or e-bikes?
So we see a lot of road rash, abrasions from falling, wrist and arm fractures, facial trauma, jaw fractures, dental injuries, nasal bone fractures. And then head injuries are the most severe, concussions to skull fractures, and sometimes even bleeding in the brain.
What do you think is the biggest danger? Is it potholes on streets? Is it going too fast and not being able to avoid traffic? What are the biggest hazards here?
So I think the biggest thing is people not being familiar with the devices. They underestimate how fast these things can really go. Um, they A lot of kids are out on these devices and they're not familiar with the rules of the road and safety. Um, Using hand signals, all the things that we were taught in grade school. So, and they're not wearing helmets. They're not wearing helmets. So, when they crash, your head is kind of the heaviest part of your body. It's going to hit the ground first. So we encourage everybody to wear a helmet, whether you're an adult or a child. I think that's the biggest thing, and wear your protective gear. Elbow guards and long pants and real shoes. Not sandals or that sort of thing.
And I want to read a statement given by the city of Chicago, the Chicago Department of Transportation here in the city, in terms of how they're regulating safety. It says licensed e-scooter operators in Chicago, such as Lime, are required to follow city rules and regulations, which include educating users about safe and legal riding practices and taking action against riders who repeatedly disregard the rules, including preventing riders from using their service. The city recently updated these regulations to more effectively address sidewalk riding and poor parking behavior, holding both companies and riders more accountable for these issues. Chicago's municipal bike share system, Divvy, has had sidewalk riding detection in place for several years and recently launched a verbal message alerting people if they're riding on a sidewalk, then to continue to refine this technology for better accuracy and compliance while improving how repeat parking violations are handled. And I can attest to, if you're riding one of these rental scooters on a sidewalk, you do get a little bit of a warning here, and sometimes the satellite can detect it and slow that e-bike down. But my question for you is, what can municipalities do to put more safety regulations on these devices?
Well, a lot of municipalities up here in the northern suburbs have already started tightening up their laws, their local laws regarding where you can ride the e-bikes and the e-scooters, and how old you have to be. The class threes, which are the ones that go really fast, the bikes have to be ridden on the road. They're restricting people from riding on the sidewalks. You can ride them on bike paths. So it's important to know what the rules are in your community.
And you mentioned like a 325% spike. Is that just because in the last year or so, there's just been a huge spike in ridership?
Yes, there's a huge boom out here. I know in the city they're pretty common, but up here where it's more suburby, rural, we just had a huge boom. Everybody wants them, because they're fun. But you have to know what you're doing before you get out on them. practice, practice in a parking lot, just like when we took driver's ed, mom and dad took you out to practice in an empty parking lot. Go out and practice there before you're going out there alone. We gave away 200 bicycle helmets this summer because of this sharp increase. And it was great because it wasn't only kids that we were teaching about safety and fitting the helmets to make sure that they fit right, but adults were asking for them too, and teens. That was probably the most uplifting part, was that the teens were like, oh, those look pretty cool, I want one. And then they were wearing them. So that's exciting.
Positive trend. When you mentioned driver's ed, it makes me think maybe they're going to start to institute like some sort of a license for e-bikes or scooters or something. But anyway, Karen Battaglia, a very important issue. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you.
And that's it for us tonight. We are back tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday. And as always, keep up with all the news you need to know at fox32chicago.com and with the Fox local app. Have a great evening, everyone.